Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody doing okay? All right. Well, like Matt said, I'm LaShonda Abrams. I am the Medical Reserve Corps Volunteer Coordinator for Region 3. And Region 3 serves Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Lexington, Newberry, Richland, and York counties. We have about 8 regions in the state of South Carolina for the Medical Reserve Corps, and they all serve different counties in the state, but these are the counties that I serve. As you can see, I'm a little bit pregnant, so I get hot real quick. Sometimes I get out of breath, so just bear with me. If you've ever had children, have been pregnant, you kind of understand what I'm coming from, so hopefully you can bear with me. So I'm just going to, hopefully I won't keep you too long. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that we tend to use with when we do presentations for agencies or other groups. We also use it with our new volunteers that come in for orientation. So if you ever decide to sign up for MRC, you've already had the orientation, so hopefully won't have to put you through this again if you do sign up.
I'm going to run this long, so we don't use the bag. Y'all can see that better than that.
Yeah, maybe that'll cool you down a little bit. So we'll go ahead and get started. How many of you have heard of the Medical Reserve Corps? Okay. All right, about 4 people? All right. So I'll give you a little bit of information, and I do have some brochures that you can take with you. I'll leave them here for future other students who didn't make it to this meeting. And one is about how to sign up, and then one is about the Medical Reserve Corps. Okay? If you have any questions, we'll go through the PowerPoint, and you can ask questions throughout if you have something that you want to ask before we move on to another PowerPoint slide, or you can wait till the end. Just to give you a little bit of background, I've been in this position since April of last year. It's a lot of information. It's a lot different than what I was doing. I'm a social worker by profession, by education. So what I normally used to do was school social work and working with teams with pregnancy prevention and things like that. So like when I came into this position, it was very like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of information. And it's a whole lot different than what I'm used to. So I'm still learning. If there's a question that you have for me that I can't quite answer today, I'm not gonna fake it. I'm not gonna make something up. I'll take that question back to the office and then I'll get back with you. Sound good? All right. And my clicker won't work, so I might have to stand back here for presentation. Right. What is the Medical Reserve Corps, or the MRC as we like to call it for short? The Medical Reserve Corps was created by President Bush after, in 2002, after his State of the Union address, in which he asked all Americans to volunteer in support of their country. The MRC is a partner program of the Citizen Corps, a national network of volunteers dedicated to ensuring hometown security. Citizen Corps, along with AmeriCorps, Senior Corps, and the Peace Corps, are part of the USA Freedom Corps, which promotes volunteerism and service nationwide. Have you heard of any of those other corps? I know, like, AmeriCorps was big when I was in undergrad, and then the Peace Corps, of course. So it falls under the Citizen Corps. And this is just a breakdown of how they fall. We have the Community Emergency Response Team, and a lot of our volunteers, well not a lot, but some of our volunteers are part of this organization as well as our Medical Reserve Corps. So just because you're part of Medical Reserve Corps doesn't mean you can't be a part of the other one.
A fan, we aim to please.
Thank you so much.
Let's see, what do you want? Here, can I put it on
Yeah,
there?
that'll work. Yes. That feels so much better.
And it'll even oscillate if you want.
Thank you so much. I have to give you a hug later.
Okay, I do work for hugs.
Then we have the Fire Corps. Then there's the MRC. And the Volunteers in Public Service. And then USA on Watch.org. So these are some of the programs that fall under the USA Freedom Corps. And a lot of this, like I said, came about after in 2002. If you can think about what happened before 2002, 2001 we had 9/11. So a lot of this came about because of all of that. So I'll go into that later. Our MRC units are community-based, they're locally organized, so, which means that if there's a local emergency, a local event, we call on our volunteers locally to come out and help us. We don't go to other regions before we go to use the volunteers in our region. We don't go to any other state or go federal before we go to our local volunteers. We'll call on our local volunteers to help us in the time of need. MRC volunteers supplement existing local emergency and public health resources. So I work with public health. I'm at the health department. So we know state government is dwindling, so we don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough of anybody to help us in the event of a disaster. So what would happen is, because we don't have enough nurses, we would call on volunteer nurses to come out and help us in the time of a disaster. We didn't have a disaster this weekend, but this Saturday we held a flu clinic, and Matt was there. He helped out at the flu clinic, and that's what we do. Because we know we're not going to have enough people, we'll call our volunteers, see who can come. Everybody's not going to be able to come at one time, but we'll call on our volunteers to come out and see who's willing to help. Public health, I don't know if you've heard of the emergency support functions, but there are about 15 of those, and they fall from like DSS and all kinds, and public health and medical services fall under the ESF 8. And ESFs provide the structure for coordinating federal interagency support for a federal response to an incident, which pretty much means that agencies that provide similar services can come together and combine their services so they can do a better job at handling the disaster. So we work with public health, we work with hospitals, we work with mental health agencies, those types of things. Right, trivia question. I like to throw these in there because I like trivia, I like Jeopardy, things like that. So I don't have any prizes for anybody, so hopefully you just like to answer trivia questions for the heck of it. So who can tell me how many counties Region 3 serves? Dee? No, not 8. 6. No, not 6. 5. No.
6.
7. Number 7. Who can name at least 2, and not Richland and Lexington? That's easy.
Newberry.
York and what did you say?
Lancaster.
Lancaster. Okay. So it was Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Lexington, Newberry, Richland, and York. So 7. Okay. I was the MRC formed, as I spoke about earlier, September 11th, and also with Hurricane Katrina, there was a lot of issues with these 2 major incidents about how to use volunteers, where would you get the extra help from. So there were a lot of things that came up and a lot of lessons learned because of some of these big disasters. Some of these, one of these lessons was that we have a lot of SUVs showing up. Not the sports utility vehicles, but the spontaneous unaffiliated volunteer. What do you think that means? A spontaneous unaffiliated volunteer.
Someone who just steps up and helps.
Yep, somebody who just might see what's going on TV and say, you know what, I want to go down there and help. So they just show up and you don't know where they came from. You don't know who they are or what. So, and some of the issues